Man.
That's my pose.
I love how heroic that makes us all seem.
Right?
Gather together, boys. We're at it again.
My pose is done.
Tommy, you're supposed to hold it the whole time.
Oh, wait. I see that.
All right. Hi, Internet. Hi, people. Hi, Sunday.
We should start the show, I guess.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, why not?
I am not Roland Man, but I'm pushing.
You look kind of like Roland.
Listen,
my
my wife's coming in, so.
You're
not Roland Man, but you play him on TV.
That's right. That's right.
Jose the Man. That's what we'll call you now.
Jose the Man.
So Roland is not here. He seems to have forgotten that it was his wife's birthday today.
Yeah, I know. Right?
Yeah,
I'm going to say something about it, but he's going to come by the office on Tuesday. I'm going to rag him on Tuesday.
We all got a notice from Roland about 12 o'clock today. It's like, hey, it's my wife's birthday today.
maybe doing something. And then but the worst part about it, he goes, but I might be back in time.
That's right. I might be back. Dude,
if he forgot, he won't be coming back anytime soon.
Ever.
No one. I guarantee you, for any married person out there, nobody goes to their wife and say, "Listen, we got to cut your birthday short. I'm due for the podcast.
I've got to go do a comic book stream."
That's not good.
So I did tell my wife, like, listen, babe, I love you, but just so you know, Emerald City Comic Con is on your birthday, and I got accepted.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she's like, oh, wait, where's that at? And I'm like, Seattle. She's like, ooh, I've never been to Seattle. I'm like,
and you're not going to be this year either.
Maybe next year.
Oh, I thought you were.
I will tell you,
with the kids.
Emerald City is a great show. Have you done it before?
I've never done it. No.
I've done it.
It's a great venue.
Cool show.
This year, 2025, has been like the year of kind of like first for me. I never did Miami SuperCon. I did do New York City Comic Con when I was in art school, but only under the school table. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Not my own. So this year was my own table, and then next year's Emerald City Comic Con.
Yeah, Emerald City is a pretty fun show.
Yeah. It is a fun show. It's crowded. It's very low key. It's a lot of independent creators.
That's cool.
And it's in a walking around part of the city.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good restaurants for eats, and they have great donuts at the various donut shops around the place. So
donuts and coffee, come on.
Yeah. No, they're second only to Portland for donuts, I think.
And for whatever reason, I think I've done it 3 or 4 times with Kablam. We've gone up with Kablam, and we stayed different places every time. And the water from the faucet and stuff, it's ice cold. It's always ice cold for some reason. I don't know why.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's weird. I don't know.
How's the shower? How are the knobs? How is it when it comes out?
I mean, it's better in Europe. Europe, everything came out like not warm and not cold. There was no hot water. It was like mild.
Yeah, the times I've been in Europe, it took almost never for the cold water.
Yeah.
You're just sitting there. You're standing outside the shower with your arm in the shower going, all right, any minute now. Come on.
Warm up. Yeah, and then you don't get ice over there too, so your sodas and stuff are hot and everything, right?
Yo, dude. It's crazy.
But only drink the bottled water. Don't
That's right.
Get faucet water.
Bottled water.
Your gut biome is not used to it.
Yeah.
So hey everybody, welcome. Maybe we should start the show.
So we're live? I thought we were still chatting.
Hey, so Roland is not here today. I'm here. I guess I'm going to be the guest host. I'm Tom Mason, and joining me tonight are Mr. Jose Fuentes, inker, artist, storyteller extraordinaire. He's going to be running the board and hanging out with us for tonight. Welcome, Jose.
Hello.
Hello. That's very
hello. As I'm pushing buttons. All right. Hi, everybody.
Button pusher.
You're the man in the chair tonight. And also joining us.
What's cool about Jose is he's got his name is on the bottom and his name is above his head too.
Right.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Look at that. Very clever.
Yeah.
I need one of those signs too.
I'm gonna tell everyone it's because I want everyone to see my name and see me. It's really just to block the window so the neighbors can't see in.
Oh, because that's your art room that you're in now?
This is my current art room.
Yeah.
It is my makeshift art room for now until people and things get settled in the house, and then I move it to my office. So,
are the neighbors peeking in an actual problem?
No, not really, but
he does his arting in the nude. Don't tell him.
Oh, okay. Well, who doesn't really?
European, not you know.
Also
no Mrs.
joining,
Kravitz around there.
also joining us, Mr. Thomas Floramonte Jr.
Howdy do, everybody.
Cruise. Dude,
Yeah, it was a great cruise. I'm still it was a 5-night cruise, and the first 2 days you're like, oh, this cruise is going on too long, and then when it gets to the end, you're like, can it just be a few more days? I need it to be a few more days. And then you get home all week, and all last week I was like, Renee, can you look it up? Can we go? Can we go again?
Can we lock another one in? Can we lock the next one in? Are we ready?
Let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and do it.
It's like being in a bubble where there's nothing but food and sleep.
Well, I'll tell you,
just so much entertainment. It's
It's
fun.
a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, but
I gained 5-6 pounds.
We did the Carnival cruise first. You know what I mean? And my kids were little, and I hated it because to me, being a parent with young kids, it just seemed like a place where everyone was drinking and whatnot. And the only way to get to the kids area was to go through the casino, which is the only place that on the boat you could smoke. So I'm like, kids, hold your breath, let's run, right? but then after that, we did the Disney cruise, and it's far, far superior and better than the Carnival.
We had a great time. This is my second one. My wife's done like 4 of them so far.
Did you do a Disney one, or you do something else?
Do what?
Did you do Disney or something else?
Yeah, Disney. We'll go back to do another Disney one. That's just so fun.
Welcome to Cruise Talk with Jose and
right.
On the veranda.
That's right. Also joining us is that man in the mask guy, Mike W. Belcher, and Mike has some news about a special fan fiction project that he's been working on that's available from his website, his Substack. So, Mike, tell us.
Yeah, if you guys would like to see what happens when a guy takes fan fiction probably in a very odd direction and would like to see what matching his own character up with a indie icon, you could head over to the Millerton Gazette, which is my newsletter, and it's crossover between my character Tommy Franklin, the man in the mask, and Grendel. And
Matt Wagner's Grendel.
Matt Wagner's, yeah, we got to put that Matt Wagner's Grendel, and when sometimes the muse hits. And the muse tells you what you need to do, whether it's for profit or for benefit or not. And this is what the story came to me many years ago. It was, everybody goes to cons. We get to sit there and congregate and talk about those stories we'd like to do. And, there was a bunch of us that asked each other, if you had somebody you could cross over with, who would you? And, they were doing the standard stuff, Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, Deadpool, the things that people would expect. And I guess I went for shock value and total Grendel. And, they kind of, they were all trying to compose themselves, but it was like, my little all ages smiling superhero masked man book with something that can, occasionally be very hardcore as in Matt's Grendel. But it lit a fire. And before I knew it, I've had a story just building and percolating and firing up in my little cranium. And this past year, I thought, I'm going to get it out of my head.
Get out there.
I had to get it out of my head because it was getting in the way of other stories.
Can I post a picture that you post on social media?
Go right ahead. And initially, that's a cover. But initially, when I did it with the idea of just getting the story done. And when I sent it to Matt. My whole thought was that once I got it done, I was going to send it to Matt, and it was at that time he was going to be the only audience.
Right.
And so I didn't even do a cover for it. I just sent him the story, and it's between me and him how he took it. But when I guess a couple of weeks ago, I started thinking about, hey, I did a pretty good job on that. And I asked him, I said, would you have a problem with me maybe showing it on my newsletter? And he was cool about it. He said, go right for it. And so I went ahead and started making some covers and just kind of trying to make it look more like a comic book and presenting it on my Substack. And I'm releasing 8 pages of it a week. And I figure sometime in the middle of December it might be over with. It's 36 pages. It took me about 3 months to do it, which is pretty fast for a self-publisher. I mean, when I was doing it in the cracks of the day. But like I said, I was extremely happy how it turned out. And again, I wouldn't have done it if it was just standard fan fiction. It kind of would have bored me. So I actually, the idea that I had was, what if an indie icon that, influenced me and influenced Man in the Mask, and a lot of people might be surprised by that. What if my character actually met?
Look at that.
And actually interacted with this character, and that was the whole precipice on it. I wanted it to be growth for my character. I knew I couldn't do too much with Grendel / Hunter Rose, but he was a great engine to help me move, at least in my own head canon, Tommy along at an early part in his life. And like I said, that's one of the reasons I guess I couldn't shake it. It was important to me, at least. And so like I said, sometimes you just have to do things, not really motivated by anything but that muse.
So what I find fascinating about this is a lot of us, I have a relative who, when she was a kid, was obsessed with CSI, and she would write CSI short stories, but they were just straightforward CSI fiction. Like, she didn't add anything to it. You took Grendel and as some kind of framework, but added your own character into the story. So it's I mean, and I know it is fan fiction, but it feels also like sort of a side quest of fan fiction because you put your guy in.
Yeah, I approached it like a real crossover. I wanted it to feel kind of like it had a purpose. Again, I had no, if I was to do fan fiction, it would have been probably a straight Grendel story, and it would have been among who knows how many fan stories about Grendel. Right. I mean, that just didn't interest me. I have to see a story in something like that. And so I just thought, what if Grendel, again, if you look at any crossover by any characters, any companies, they don't acknowledge them. They don't acknowledge them after the fact. They're very rare because it would mess with their continuity if they did. And so really, doing it the way I did it, I approached it like a real crossover with the idea that, again, this wouldn't even be on Grendel's radar to keep it in his head or as far as Hunter Rose goes in his journals. It was just a little tiny, meeting with a nobody. But for my character, it's instrumental, and again, his hero's journey. It's something that greatly affects his point of view. And I thought, again, I've never seen anybody do that.
Which is sort of also true. It feels like it's real life. Like when we meet one of our own heroes at a convention or whatever, that person, like I've met a bunch of celebrities where they've instantly forgotten me, but I remember that, and I remember that encounter forever because it had some kind of moment in my life, and I tell the story endlessly.
Yeah.
But the celebrity has already forgotten me. Like they're not telling my story about who they met. I'm telling who I met, and I think that's what yours sounds like. It feels like.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way I went about it. I thought the idea, at least on my side, it would feel like something, and it would, again, for the Grendel world, it wouldn't even be a ripple, but it made it interesting for me. I got to draw Grendel because, I can draw Grendel in pinups. I can draw, any character that I love, Green Hornet. I don't have ownership of them, and I probably will never have an opportunity to write those characters for many different reasons. But I wanted to treat it real. I wanted to feel real to me. I had rules. I made rules for myself. It was, it was a great growing experience. I really do suggest it to anybody that maybe sometimes hit a block in something. Don't let anything kind of put, I can't do that, or nobody will allow me to do that. Well, you might be surprised, because the great thing about especially an independent character, I've gotten to know Matt, and I can just text Matt and say, hey, here's something I did. What do you think? If I tried to go to DC to want to do a Batman, I'd gone through 100 lawyers as they laughed at me before one of them told me, beat it, kid.
Right.
But with indie guys, I mean, that's the great thing about indie comics. We're approachable, and I include us with that. We're approachable. Somebody want to do something with Dinosaurs for Hire, Tom, you're the guy to go to. There's no line of lawyers. There's no line of guys that would do it.
I'd say no, though.
And you have that power.
Wait, Tommy's approachable?
Yeah.
I'm not, of the four of us here in this table, I'm the least approachable. I'm the most pleasant, I think, but I'm not a good person.
You mean when you see them coming, you kind of turn around and walk away real quick so they can't, so they're always chasing you down?
Hurry up and hide
Come
behind
back.
That's it. I turn my around.
Well, you're just enough like that. You don't have to worry about a misery moment, at least.
That's right.
Tommy likes to corrupt children. He likes to corrupt fans.
But I want to stress that this is not. I mean,
Jose knows too much.
This isn't a goof, right, Mike? I mean, this is a serious, actual, like, as if it was a real crossover. It totally fits in. It could easily fit in. It could be canon.
It could be easily canon if I want. Again, I did it as canon. Again, I wanted the rules of a crossover. I've been reading comics for 40 years. I know what crossovers look like, and I know what I don't like about crossovers. And especially, this couple of weeks we've been subjected to Batman Deadpool. Like, I'm sorry, that never interests me. But the thing about it with crossovers, there's rules, and I did it. I structured it in a way that if you didn't know Grendel, I'll explain Grendel to you.
Yep.
Right.
And and if you're on the other side of it, if you're a Grendel fan, which, like I said, I hit the Grendel fan book or Facebook pages and said, hey, come, read this if you're interested. They wouldn't know who Man in the Mask is. I wanted to make sure that somebody reading it knew what Man in the Mask was about.
Right.
And that's so like I said, I structured it like a crossover. I'm going to give you information that you're going to need to, but not enough that it's overpowering. You can enjoy the story. It's a pretty A to Z story. I mean, you can read it and you can get it. And again, I had fun with it, and I hope anybody reading it had a good time with it too.
All right. So you want to post it?
Where can they see it?
Yeah. Can you post the link in the comments?
It would be, it'd be millertongazette.substack.com, and I will make a comment now.
All right. So that's it, guys. If you're a fan of Man of the Mask, if you're a fan of Grendel, or if you just want to see what one person can do with two characters who are different, that's your place to go. Militant Gazette.
Or you're a fan of Mike Belcher.
Or if you wanna, if you're a fan of what I've done or a fan of Man in the Mask, like I said, this is, it's like I told Matt, this is a Man in the Mask story. I had no right adding anything to Grendel,
Right.
So I did it, extremely from the point of view of Man in the Mask, and it's a crossover. Grendel is featured, and like I said, if you know who Grendel is, you get it because.
So Grendel leaves the same way he comes in, kind of thing.
Yeah. He's completely. There's nothing on him. There's no bar.
You didn't chop an arm off, and now he's out.
There was no hidden reveal. There was no hidden reveal of Grendel or anything because, and if anything, it's a Hunter Rose. Because that's how I got the story going. The idea that Tommy wanted to be a writer, and the idea that at 13 or 14, he got to meet a literary idol, and how that also leads to another encounter, and it just went to so many different places as far as ideas. I had to pare down what I didn't want to do because there were so many ideas with it, and like I said, I'm extremely happy with it, and I said I've been happy that I've gotten a good. I've given advanced looks to the whole story to friends. And hopefully people who like to watch it week to week progress are going to enjoy it that way too.
That's cool. I really like the way that you use your Substack as a as a tool to sort of explain the worlds that you're creating for Man in the Mask, and your process and the little side quests that you take sometimes on the Gazette, but still keep it focused on your own creativity. So it's I think you make one of the best uses of Substack that I've seen people do.
Thank you. I mean, I didn't. That's what I wanted it to be like. This, a bunch of guys that make comics talking about things. I wanted to share with people that might be interested in my work. Hey, this is where it comes from. This is the stuff I'm interested in when I watch a creator. So people, again, sometimes when I was growing up in the 90s, I couldn't imagine the kind of abilities that we have today to show off stuff,
right,
and to share stuff, and as far as the audiences that we can reach. But again, what really I love is the shared experiences. We all, people of different ages, people of whatever, but we have one thing in common. We love comics. We love the language of comics. We love the history of comics. And again, this is just one other thing. I got to celebrate a character I really love that, again, most people wouldn't think is a big influence, and then a creator's work that I really appreciate. And then, like I said, in my own little headcanon, and maybe in some people's minds, advance my character a little bit.
I like that. So, what do you have? Do you have? I notice we're way off topic for the show. Do you have another plan in mind for the next thing, or are you going to go back to Man on the Mask, or what's the?
I'm doing Man on the Mask now. I mean, that was a moment in time that I gave up 3 months of Man on the Mask. Well, I didn't really give up Man on the Mask time. It was Man on the Mask story, but right. I got back on track after that. But right. I know some creators, and again, there are some guys that wouldn't mind, maybe a team up. I won't say exactly what I've got in mind, but I know some other people.
All right, good to hear it. All right, thanks, Mike. And Mike has posted the link in Pops.
Pops
and I guess Jose, is that you that posted it, or did Mike?
I did it as well because it didn't show up on mine, so I added it as well.
So the link is in the comments chat if you want to go over there and check it out, and give Mike a like and a subscribe. That would be awesome. All right, the topic seems to fit in with this fairly well. We're doing setting the scene. Why is setting the scene in the comic book so important? What do you do to set the scene, and what happens when you screw it up, which is my favorite part. Because I was talking to Jose off the air earlier, and I've been one of those people who has screwed up setting the scene, and I've had to rely on the people down in the process, the artist, the penciler, the inker, the colorist, and the letterer, to sort of say, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And so,
where are we, by the way?
Yeah, where are we? Where does this take place? Why are we here? What's going on? And I think sometimes you can get away with that if you eventually reveal it and it's part of some kind of twist or part of the story. But sometimes the audience gets lost. So why is setting the scene so important, and when do you do it, Mike?
Well, it's like you said, we got to make sure people realize where we're at. I mean, and as far as I block things out. I block things like sets. I think of each scene that I do like I'm dressing a scene in a movie or a TV show. The idea, I want to know where everything's in the room that I can possibly draw to make sure that somebody who's reading my story knows where we're at. If a conversation is going on during dinner, or is it in a park, or is it, where people are at and the way they're dressed is important also to the story.
Right.
And so you have to look at it. I look at each scene that I compose in a book as very, structured, as far as making sure I'm not repeating myself. I don't want my characters to say, well, this is a nice park that we're in right now. And I'd rather just show the park and let him talk about something else.
Right.
That's the reason it's important to set the where you're at, because, it's a visual medium. With a prose book, you're having to spend a lot of time explaining where people are at.
Yeah.
But with
and
comics,
what they look like, what they look like, what they're wearing, and where
exactly. But we
how
have
long is the hallway.
Who's all in the room?
And who's there? Who's all in the room? How many people are in the room? But
Right.
with a visual medium, we can sit here and we can actually tell the artist or ourselves, what does this scene look like, and then let them talk with other things that help move the story along.
Right.
So we're giving that nod to the reader. Okay, he knows where we're at, or he or she knows where the story's taking place. Now, listen to the characters.
Right. Because I think my favorite, I think the most iconic opening that I can think of is from a movie, not a comic book, but it's the Star Wars opening, where the first thing you see is space, okay, and then the title Star Wars, but then you see the massive ship
flying
basically over your head in the audience,
and so you realize how massive it.
Right.
Yeah.
How huge that, because it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger as the music swells up, and then there's the
scene, establishing the person,
and there's the pyramid shaped text scroll that sort of fills you in on all the politics and stuff, which is not interesting to me because I'm fascinated by the giant ship that comes over my head.
Words.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
Words.
And then boom, you cut into the inside of a spaceship, and now you see people who are definitely not dressed like, normal people. They're dressed in these weird futuristic suits and carrying weird guns. So you know that something's going to happen. And so I think that tells us right away within like 40 seconds that we're in for something.
Well, that's like Raiders of the Lost Ark, same thing.
Yes. Yeah, brilliant way they set that thing up. And they do, and you can tell just by Harrison Ford's clothes that this is some kind of, and because of all the thousands of movies we've seen beforehand, this is definitely like 1930s, 1940s. He's got a hat, he's got a whip, he's got an old-fashioned gun, and he's not dressed like a businessman. And I think
and he's obviously not in the city because there's plenty of trees
running around in the woods. Yeah, the forest.
All right,
we're done. Excellent.
Right?
Yeah, we're done. Thanks.
Have a good night, guys.
Let's get back to talking about that Disney cruise.
Tip your waitress.
So, Tommy, when you're inking a comic, what do you do you notice setting? How important is it?
I always, when I'm inking something new, I always try to make sure that even if the penciler didn't, I try to make that establishing shot a little more detailed than if they didn't draw enough, I'll try to add a little bit. But I don't, as an inker, that's not my job to be mucking around with the pencils too much. I don't want to make anybody mad, but I'll put a little more effort into those first, that first page at least anyway, as far as the backgrounds go. So you got to establish where you're at, so that way the reader, like you guys are saying, will know exactly what's going on. You don't want to leave the reader unless it's some sort of funky thing that you're trying to do and sneaking something in there.
Like
trying
the writer's trick.
Right, yeah, but you don't want the reader to go, oh, I don't know what's going on. Why
right?
This doesn't make any sense.
Well, you don't want to get to page 22 or whatever and go, I don't know what happened. I don't know where.
They were at a restaurant. I could have sworn they were at the park or something. That didn't make any sense whatsoever. It's the same when you switch scenes too. You want to make sure that they know that you switched, especially if it's the same characters. And all of a sudden, if you end up with, somebody, the art is where it's not as dynamic as the drawings and stuff, and they're drawn kind of the same heads talking all the time. You want to make sure that you know where you're at. You want to, if they're, if 1 minute they're in the car and then the next minute they're, running through a bank or whatever, you need to make sure that you don't want to, hey, what's going on? And then they're in the bank. It's like you got to let people know what's going on.
That's really valid, because one of the things I try to do is I try to end my scene at the bottom of a page and start my next scene at the top of the next page. So that way there's the page break that helps me move the camera to the next scene. And also, if the previous scene is a nighttime scene, I end with a dark panel. And then if it's the next morning, then it's a daytime sunrise sunlight scene. And so that helps as well establish because the setting isn't just like the Star Wars opening or the Raiders of the Lost Ark opening. Setting can change in a comic book 8-10 times or whatever. And one of the things that always bothered me as a kid was when the scene would change in the middle of a page, and then I'd have to rely on Raspberry Roy to give me a big caption that says, the the next
Well, is
morning.
that the artist's fault or is that the writer's fault for switching scenes in the middle of a page? You know, you got to.
I don't think that was a technique until indie comics came along and people just said, you know what, we're going to start ending scenes at the bottom of a page.
Yeah, no.
It's just better pacing. It's just better, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Better timing, yeah.
Right.
I think people, as the industry grew and more people came into it, I think people brought a better sensibility to it. And a lot of the younger kids were just saying, I'm going to end it at the bottom of a page and start at the top of a page.
Yeah, with all my Zomboy stuff, you know, when they're elementary kids at school, you know, I don't start them the comic where they're just sitting at a desk and talking and stuff. You know, basically it's a scene of the school, you know, from outside, and you have some word balloons of people talking, and then you flip the page, and then you see them at the desk talking. Obviously, I took them from you know, they're at school, now they're in the school, and then you just start the story kind of. Yeah, you got to establish that where they're at. You got to get them
and you also want to be clear. You don't want to jump around too much, and I mean, you're not going to take your kids to a coal mine necessarily,
right?
Or to some kind of factory. It's a school-based story, and your adventures are set in school.
Wait, we can't do that?
Oh, you can. Tommy can't.
Tommy
can't.
Tommy has not that creative. My stories are not that involved.
because you're a pantser.
I sure am. Yeah. I think in scenes all the time. That's the way I'm not a big story person. I'm more of a, you know, I think I want to draw this and I want to draw this. Let me see how I can connect all that stuff together.
Right. So you start from a position of where you want to draw or what you want to draw.
Yeah, but I think it's fun rather than, you know, and then all of a sudden I'll get somebody like my wife or Barry will go, well, aren't they supposed to be didn't you told me about the story idea that you had, and you've got 5 pages in and you hadn't even started on that story. And go, I guess I'm going to have to redraw something.
Right. Fine, let's do it your way.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Yeah, I left something the important part of the story. I left that out. I guess I should put that in there somewhere.
Yeah, I've done that. I usually do that. I try to do that at the outline stage so that I can fix it earlier. But
yeah, you know, that's kind of what it's not like completely drawn pages, but you're right. Yeah, I'll thumbnail a whole bunch of stuff out, show Barry or my wife or whoever, and they're like, you left out the part. I see your notes on the side of the page that you wrote, and you didn't even do any of that in any of these thumbnails. I'm like, yeah, but they were fighting. They were doing some stuff, but why are they fighting? I don't know. They're just fighting. I don't know.
Because it's cool and it's comics.
Because it's cool. Yeah, they went into their imaginary world, and now they're fighting with some big robots.
But Mike, you've got an entire town mapped out, right?
Oh yeah, unfortunately, I put way too much thought into it. I can tell you what's on this street, and you know how to get over here in 10 or 15 minutes. Oh yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, I don't suggest going that way.
He's got a full on map hanging on the back.
Well,
on the other side where the camera's at.
It's like a set for a TV show. You've got, you know, you read Man of the Mask enough, you pretty much know the way of the town. It's like this is on the left, this is on the right, this street. So you can't cheat without your continuity fans getting on your case.
Luckily, I haven't built it all up, but it is on me, and so I'm usually the first critic. It's like, no, you got to remember where that's at. Don't. He's across the street from Felix's. Don't do that. No.
Yes, right. I showed him walking out of the house, and he went to the next door place, and that's always going to be
right. No, you're supposed to go to the other side, the other direction.
Yeah. The sign is on the right side of the road with a park bench underneath it. And don't forget that there's a little fenced-in area behind for the kids to play in. It's like
there's a mailbox.
I'm telling you, Mike's got a whole map built. It looks like a family circus. That when the family circus would do the big comic picture or whatever, and it was the kids playing all across the yard, neighbors. That Mike's got one of those hanging up. I just know it.
But I mean, I can't do that certainly, but I commend people who do, because that I find that. I don't find that restrictive. I find that basically that's world building. You understand how things go.
But like it's too many Marvel Universe books. Handbook of the Marvel Universe growing up and watching those Elliot Brown just absolute detailed of Avengers Mansion and
Yes.
the Baxter Building and all that stuff. It just gets in your head thinking, that's the stuff I've got to keep up with.
Every floor laid out and whatnot.
Every floor laid
I remember
out.
those.
The bathrooms are all that stuff.
Oh man, I love those.
I've seen that they get knocked through a wall. You need to know if there's plumbing on the other side if they're going to hit it when they
Yeah.
And I remember, was it DC Who's Who had the Bat Cave.
Oh,
And
yeah.
one of the issues, they had it like all laid out, like the
best.
You know what I mean?
The best Batcave drawing is the one that Dick Sprang did. It feels like it's the size of a double page spread, but like 2.5 times that size, whatever. And it's got the giant penny, it's got the big typewriter, it's got the dinosaur, and you know exactly where everything is. It's got the turnaround for the Batmobile. It's got all the fuel pumps. It's got all the all that stuff. The stuff that it's like a mix of the real Batcave plus a mix of the Batman TV show Batcave plus whatever else has been drawn over the years, and it's impressive as hell. I wish it'd be released as a poster or a print again because I want one.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I did a commission 2 or 3 years ago, and it was after the Earth 2 Batman died, and it was kind of like a wake, and he wanted all the things in the background, and I think I kind of referenced that, and I use the costumes are over here that's in the cabinets. There's the dinosaur. There's the penny.
Right.
Here's a table that they can sit at and have their coffee. It's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's the best man cave ever made. But Mike, are you limited because yours is set in a very specific town where the buildings are made of very specific material? Are you limited by architecture as well? Not limited, I guess, but is that the look of the town?
That was the purpose of with the original story of the original Man in the Mask. It was a small town, so I come from a small town. None of the buildings in the town that I grew up with were bigger than maybe 4, maybe 5 floors.
Yeah, same.
And so anything that I drew with the original Man in the Mask, no buildings were bigger than that.
Right.
And so when I moved Tommy to a bigger city, where he's at in the east side of Millerton is kind of like where he comes from. There's those buildings probably not larger than 6 or 7 floors.
Right.
But as it's a suburb of a larger city, he has the luxury of going in where I can do those big elaborate superhero cities. Where in the greater metropolitan area of Millerton, you do have the big skyscrapers, you do have the big buildings, and they're always in the distance of Colt's Corner where Tommy lives. So again, as I've said before, Man in the Mask is everything I love about comics. And so if I'm going to have different characters, well, the buildings are characters too.
Right.
And so I wanted to make sure that if I wanted to have the small town vibe of where he lived and those buildings that were very comparatively to superhero buildings, very short and very homey, I also wanted him to walk into places or run into places that were huge, glass windows and be something that he can easily access when I feel like doing a bigger type story.
Right. So I feel look at that thing. That's it.
That's a thing of beauty.
Look at that. Man. That's wow.
Yeah.
It's like an MC Escher painting.
Don't move any of that stuff around because Batman or Alfred's going to get pissed.
Right.
He has to dust all that.
Yeah.
Yes, it's so beautiful. Dick Sprang, one of my favorite Batman artists of the early era.
Oh yeah, he was such a great Batman artist because he didn't have anything to do with Kane. There was nothing. Right. There was no contact, no anything. It was all his world, his Batman, and there wasn't anything that was.
He just worked for Julie Shorts.
Exactly.
Shorts. Yeah. Beautiful work. I think underappreciated. I think how great he is.
But for kids of that era, seeing that picture right there, I mean, granted, he did in '95, obviously, but kids during the '50s reading Batman, they wanted to know where the stuff was at.
Yeah,
tell me where this is at.
That's the thing. And the Batmobile is much nicer, the Bat Cave is much better than the Superman's Fortress of Solitude. Superman's Fortress of Solitude looks like just where a lonely guy goes. And the Batcave is like I don't need to go to the mansion. I can just be right down here. I got all my stuff.
Yeah, this is the one that I was talking about earlier.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah. Now that's not fun though.
I do agree with that.
That's a little more corporate Batcave.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
definitely
that
more technical.
Yeah, that looks like Marie Kondo's been in there and made Batman throw things out.
That one's got like the plumbing and stuff for the
Right.
sewage and the toilets and
That's got to
garbage
be a
disposal.
fetish for somebody to put the plumbing in.
Yeah, what did Batman do when he did he do all that, or did he kill the people after they put the plumbing in?
I think he hired people. I think Bruce Wayne hired people, and then Bruce Wayne had them killed because like you can't. It's like when they buried Genghis Khan; they killed all the people who knew where he was
Right.
buried.
I'm thinking so.
And so there's no other way.
The Batman doesn't kill, so it had to be Bruce Wayne.
If
Or maybe he blindfolded them and brought them in, and then did the stuff. And then when it was done, he gave them cash and then blindfolded them and then drugged them and took them away or something.
if DC was ever dumb enough to call me up and ask me if I had a pitch, that would be my pitch. Is who dug the Batcave and what happened to them?
Yeah,
That would be my one Batman story that I think I would love to write. So, and I feel obligated to bring up Cat and Mouse on behalf of Roland because he said it in New Orleans, which is one of his favorite cities, and New Orleans has very specific rules about the city because they don't have an underground sewer system because they're too close to the surface.
no,
But
you
you
dig
go-
a little
The
bit.
water table. They're too low on the water table.
There's no underground. You can't have characters run under the sewers. You also can't bury people. They bury people on top of the soil because you can't. There's no surface. There's no.
And New Orleans in a bowl too. You know,
Yeah.
that's the reason why it flooded. You know, for Katrina because it was flooded so bad because it's in a bowl.
And the French Quarter architecture is not necessarily indicative of the entire city.
It's that one little.
It's that one little area, and New Orleans is. So you can do that. You can do the Bourbon Street thing, and you can have the French Quarter, and you can have the little parades or whatever, and all the drinking and stuff. But that's not 100% New Orleans. That's like 5% of New Orleans.
Yeah.
So there are rules, and Roland understands the rules. And some of my favorite conversations with Roland are getting him all wound up about shows and movies that are set in New Orleans that don't understand what New Orleans is.
You know, the one show that actually got New Orleans right, and it's because they filmed a lot of it there. We actually know some people from the Biloxi area that were used for background people and stuff. Was the NCIS?
NCIS.
Yeah. I mean, when it was on, Renee and I would watch it and stuff. It's like, I know exactly where that location is at. Yeah.
Well, that's my favorite thing about shows that are filmed in New York because I understand. Like I watched the movie Splash again not too long ago because it's one of my favorite.
Daryl Hannah?
Daryl Hannah and Tom Hanks and John Candy and Eugene Levy, and they have a great chase that starts uptown and goes downtown to the docks, and it's almost 100% accurate in terms of what they pass in order to get there and what streets they go down and the route that they take, and it's fascinating that they would put in that amount of attention to detail because sometimes they don't. Sometimes in movies they just want to go to the most interesting locations, and if you map it out, it's a zig and a zag and a zig and a zag, and it makes no sense. But in Splash, they make a straight beeline down to the water so Daryl Hannah can jump in.
See, and that's wild to me because I went 2 blocks and got lost from the Javits.
Oh, really? Oh, no.
My wife had the GPS. Oh my God, girl, I don't know where we're going. Like we're gonna sit here. We're gonna get mugged. I'm waiting. Food.
Oh, food.
Like, food is everywhere.
The Javits is the worst for food. Like there's no.
I didn't mean the Javits.
No, but I mean even that surrounding area is not that good for food. You got to go downtown.
We're on foot, buddy. You want to carry me?
What?
We're on foot. You want to carry me?
No.
You get a taxi. Uber.
Right?
Here, you stick your right hand up in the air, and a cab will pull right up.
Dude, I tried to show some leg, and that didn't work. Like, those cabbies do not like me.
You got man leg. No cab.
You don't know that.
Well, Tom, I don't know if you had brought up the New York for the scene setting that we're talking about. What we were talking earlier about the Spider-Man and scene setting.
Yeah.
And how it doesn't work a lot of the time.
It doesn't work. Like if you in many comics, especially.
Who's been to New York before? Okay,
I used to work in it.
Is every building in New York from Staten Island all the way through Manhattan and everything? They're all 500-story buildings because
strategically placed
in everywhere.
No, that's
even when he's in Queens at the house when he was a kid, he would jump out the window and start web swinging. I'm like, you're in the suburbs. Where are you swinging, buddy?
No,
it's like pole.
It's like the suburbs of Queens and Brooklyn are basically like because the rule is in New York that if you built like a row house or a row of townhouses and you made them more than 6 stories, you had to put in an elevator.
Yeah,
so there's a lot of buildings that just are like, oh well, screw that, we're 5 stories.
Yeah, boom. And what kind of web swinging is he doing in 5-story building?
And so
and I missed the building.
And there are still in Queens and Brooklyn, although not as often and not as much as it used to, but there's still just houses that people have. Not everything is a skyscraper. Not everything is a 5-story apartment complex. There are some houses. And it gets more suburban as you go sort of farther out.
So the only place that Spider-Man can actually do business is right in the middle of Manhattan. Right.
Yep.
It's the best. The best
he's got to go out, then listen, MJ.
I'm
out of buildings. I'm gonna have to catch an Uber. It's gonna be a minute.
You could do some of the stuff on down on Wall Street. There's some tall buildings down there too. And
everybody knows I love Spider-Man, but it's so silly sometimes when you see him.
Yeah, there's really like a 14-15 block by 10 blocks.
All the fightings in that one little area.
That's where Spider-Man fights crime.
Yeah.
And so he comes in from Aunt May's house, which is out of the suburbs across the river.
Yep.
Well, he catches an Uber. He catches
an Uber, gives him time to swing by.
That's right.
He could take
filling up his web shooters and all that, getting ready.
If he took a big swing, he could probably do the Brooklyn Bridge or the Roosevelt Island tram.
Slingshot himself.
Slingshot himself over. But that's there's only so many times you can do that, I think.
Right.
Yeah. So and the way it's all laid out, like I know Ross Andrew used to do this. They'd put in like the Empire State Building, or they'd put in the Twin Towers, or they'd put in the Chrysler Building that he'd swing by. But none of the other buildings in the background were part of that neighborhood.
No.
It's just, which is weird because a lot of those guys lived in New York and worked in New York, but it's just like generic big city at a certain point.
Does that fall under suspension of disbelief?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
It has to, right?
And also it's because at the time they're making these comics, it's like they don't care. The audience doesn't care. It's like we just got to put in a city.
Right.
They just said it was New York or whatever, and everybody that doesn't live in New York's like, oh, it's New York, it's huge, it's big, everything's big. So it just worked, right?
Yeah, because people think that New York is really just 1 million skyscrapers, and that's it. And so that's what Mr. and Mrs. Front Porch believe it is.
Yeah, my father was from Brooklyn, and so as a kid, I visited New York, as a youngster and stuff, and even though I like Spider-Man, I'm like, yeah, those buildings, it's just the suburbs. What's going on?
Yeah, as a small town kid, I wouldn't have had a clue. I would have just taken it for face value and would have believed it no matter what. Yeah, especially the way Ditko drew it. I mean, it's just there's really. I'm not going to question that. I'm not an expert in the matter. So these guys supposedly looked out their window and saw this stuff. So I'm going to say that's New York.
See, and I feel the other too. Whenever I do a Spider-Man commission, I'm drawing these monster buildings that don't exist,
right? Because
everybody does.
Because I think it may not be as much suspension of belief, but it may just be like, well, this is the city,
right?
And this is what a city looks like, and this is just it's fun to draw, and it's fun to have Spider-Man swing around in these buildings, and it's fun. It's fun to imagine that in the Baxter Building, the Fantastic Four can actually launch a spaceship to the moon,
right,
from Midtown Manhattan. And I think it's just some of that is just like pure comics.
Yeah. Well, like Mike said, I'm from a small town in Indiana. You know what I mean? So when I see in comic books, see Spider-Man, see Superman, whatever, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh yeah, that's okay. There's giant buildings everywhere. And then even when I went there, because I never went to New York until art school. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then I finally got to go to New York, and I'm like, oh man, all these buildings are big. But when you're taking the L in and whatnot, when you're taking the train in, you're like,
yeah, there's little 2-story houses.
Right.
Yeah. If you watch if you watch it as you fly into one of the airports,
Yeah.
you sort of
Yeah,
see
little big bulk of stuff, and then
a big bulk of stuff, and then it gradually goes back down again because they build up the areas where people want to live and work, and then where people in the older parts of the city, it's just 5-story buildings and two-story.
It's kind of like the reason why when the X-Men stories and stuff, they could just take place anywhere because they didn't. But you didn't see Spider-Man coming to Orlando to beat somebody up or anything like that. Yeah.
Well, that's why I as a kid I kind of didn't understand where Doctor Strange's mansion was, because in my kid brain, what's that house doing in the middle of Manhattan? Because Spider-Man taught me that Manhattan was all skyscrapers, and then here's Doctor Strange's little house in Greenwich Village, and then there was another.
Should have told you, should have keyed in that it's probably little tiny houses everywhere.
Yeah, I think Gerber's books, like Howard the Duck, were often set in Hell's Kitchen, which was like a rundown section of 5-story row houses on the west side of New York, and so
New York is still pretty tall. You could do a little bit of swinging off of that.
Yeah, but they were more urban and less skyscrapery.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's some scenes in the Spider-Man books where you see him and it's like he's shooting it looks like he's shooting 5,000-6,000 feet, and he's swinging through. It's like he's flying around and you are swinging around, and you see the people at the bottom, and they look like little ants and stuff. It's like, well, golly, he must be like 300-story building there. Where is he at?
And I thought of two things. One is my vertigo is not going to let me do that. I could never be Spider-Man because I'm too dizzy just looking at the cartoon character. And the second is we talked about this before we got on the air, is the infamous scene where Spider-Man swings past the Empire State Building, which is the tallest building in New York. So it's like, what's he connected to?
Which building is he swinging from?
Right. Like, I realize there's dramatic license and it's kind of fun, but this is really obvious that he's
he's swinging around, and you can see the tops of buildings, and it's like, God, this building that he's swinging from is like way bigger than that skyscraper. What's he doing up there?
Well, it's like Miller's Daredevil when he put like 1,000 water towers on top of all the skyscrapers. It's like, you can go to New York, because when I was at the Javits for the show in October and Jose was there, I saw some skyscrapers that were older, long-standing, that still had the old-fashioned water tower up on top, but it's only like on 6 buildings.
Yeah.
But in Frank Miller's Daredevil of New York,
everywhere.
They're everywhere. You'd think they're on the top of every single building, just waiting for heroes.
Every one of my commissions, I have to put 2 or 3 of those.
I'll tell you, Pete told me the same thing. He's like, "Oh, I love drawing the little water tower things." I'm like, "Why do you hate yourself?" It's like, what are you doing?
But the thing is, they do look architecturally interesting for a comic book.
They do.
Yeah, in silhouette they do. I think they look
in silhouette.
And that's the scene, which is what we're talking about.
They set the scene. It feels like it's New York. If you put in the water towers, suddenly because Los Angeles never had those, and Indianapolis doesn't have those.
Something totally different.
Florida doesn't have those. Kentucky doesn't have those. And so I think that if you see them, when you see them in a comic book or in a movie or whatever, you instantly assume, well, I'm not in Paris. This is New York.
They're universally acknowledged as being a New York thing.
Right.
Yeah. Our collective brains put them together.
Yeah. It's like when I watch Homicide: Life in the Street, which is set in Baltimore. They would go around and they would do B-roll of actual Baltimore locations before they go into the studio, and they would show those at the when they change scenes, so that you get a feel for what Baltimore is, because Baltimore looks different on screen than New York does, than Los Angeles does, and so on.
Oh,
it's like Batman in the in Gotham or whatever. It's like you can tell that it's Gotham because of all of the gargoyles and the Gothic looking buildings,
the Zeppelins.
Stuff. Yeah, Zeppelins. Yeah, and you can tell that Gotham has actually gotten worse over the years, because they have Zeppelins, and they have open chemical vats everywhere, and they have steam rising up at different odd places. I mean, there's a really unique look to movie Batman.
Well, it's like the Nolan Batman movies. The first 2 movies were shot in Chicago, so you had all the L trains, and you had everything that was kind of more suburban and urban and everything. And then the third movie was done in Pittsburgh because they needed to be surrounded by water to cut off the bridges.
Right.
So all of a sudden, all the set dressing that was in the first two movies, you're not really seeing anymore because they switched locations because they want you to. The whole plot rolls around, knocking down the bridges around Gotham. So your set changes on the third movie,
which is why Batman the Animated Series is the best of the Batmans.
Easily,
because they
easily
keep the setting consistent, they keep the look consistent, and they don't change it. They don't change the look of the show to match the plot.
And they deal with silhouettes. I mean, that's really, you're trying to communicate to somebody watching something. The water towers are not a big deal as long as you leave them as silhouettes. I mean, yeah, if you want to get in there and do the wood paneling and the bands around it, you go forward. I'm not going to do that, but
no, the silhouette works best. It's one of Wally Wood's 22 panels that always work.
Exactly.
Silhouette.
Well, it's that first panel that you drew that sets the scene, and then when you need to draw more background, silhouettes.
Yeah, you've already established. Byrne was infamous of that. He would do one big setup, and then the rest of the fight would be, no backgrounds, because he showed you there at the beginning. He knows what you want to see next. You want to see the fight. You don't want to see him doing some kind of office chair in the background or whatever. It's like that first panel of that action scene. It's like, okay, here's the building. You know where you're at. And then, okay, you just want to watch the fight now. And do it.
And it's Chekhov's office chair. Like if you introduce an office chair in the panel 1, you've got to have somebody pick up the chair by panel 6.
Yeah. You better be flinging it at somebody.
That's right. Same thing with a water tower. At some point, somebody's going to let the water out.
Probably not through it.
Crash through it.
I mean, but that's the great, again, that's setting. We're getting that in our stories. We're able to get that stuff translated when you see it. The Hulk destroys New York City, middle of New York City. Well, okay, here's the Hulk and here's destruction. And what more do you need? There's all your info right there.
Right.
You also need people to come in and clean it up.
Yes, you need damage control. Yes,
those are my favorite people.
Wasn't there a TV show about that? About the people who had to clean up, or maybe it was
There's a comic book about that. I thought Fabian kind of created it.
Maybe no, it's Dwayne Duffy. It was damage control.
That's it. Those guys.
Damage control.
Okay. Yeah. Genius. It's just a great idea. It's like
how much is too much background? That's or too much establishing shots. Like, I mean, if once you get that first panel or two, page or two or whatever, and then you got folks that'll keep drawing full rendered backgrounds and everything. I'm not talking about but
I mean, those are lovely. Don't get me wrong, right? But as a dude, pencils and inking that in.
It's like, come on now.
Every 3 panels is a full freaking cityscape.
Oh, golly.
It's the same with writing. It's like I don't need to know every single thing people said. I don't need to know, you have to condense everything. And so I think for me, it's what's important for the story.
Yeah.
How much talking do I need, and how much action do I need, and how much would the artist be required in order to give me the best story? And I think you got to find that weird balance that comes from experience of just like, I don't need everything detailed like Jeff Darrow does. Not every panel needs to be that. I mean, God bless him. Not everybody wants to do that.
No.
And sometimes you want to be like Paul Pope, where it's just like, I need just enough to get me to the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cake.
Yeah. What are you going to do with all that info? You're looking at a person that might look at that panel for all of maybe a second,
right?
And before they hit the word balloon, as far as looking at it, I mean, why are you going to spend that much time on a small panel trying to get everything in there? The dresser drawers, grandma's china in the background. I mean, it's just it's irrelevant for storytelling.
There's a great comparison of comic book art from like the 60s and comic book art from like the 2020s. And they use a boot as an example, like a combat boot from Sergeant Rock. And it's just like, it's the outline of a boot colored brown is how it was in the 1960s. and now it's a boot with all the laces and
Right.
all the little holes for the laces.
Stitching
to go in.
and
A little bit of shadow feathering on the older one, but yeah.
Right. It's like, well, I don't, unless the boot is going to play an important role. And even then, I don't need that detailed of a boot. It's not, comics aren't photorealism.
Right.
Comics are storytelling.
Yeah.
And whatever you can do to tell the story in an effective way to make the audience respond, that's where you got to be. And I don't think that comes from having a million more words or a million more lines. I think that comes from, I don't know, the experienced practice hand of people who've done this before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
let
some
the
great
power
artists
of
out
it
there.
come forward. We don't need to see it in more detail later.
Yeah.
on.
Well,
I'm sorry, Mike, you were saying something.
No, I was just going to say there's some great artists. Brian Hitch is a great artist, but my
He is.
gosh, the detail that he goes to each panel, it's no wonder his books are always long. I mean, and no offense to him, I respect anybody that's the way they want their books and their art to look like, but at the same token, it's like that's a lot of wasted time for how fast our eyes go over a picture.
Well,
Unless my character is being thrown into the water tower, I don't need to see the water tower again.
Right.
We're done with it.
Yeah, I might show it. I might want to show it at the end of the fight, just to see, if it had a broken leg or it's sputtered in some way, it's bleeding or whatever. Just to show some of the.
Yeah, but see, that's a gag. You want to put that in there. Yeah, that's.
But I don't need to see it. I don't need to see it in every panel.
Yeah, from every angle as they're fighting, draw that water tower in the background. We don't need
because movies don't do that.
No.
And movies don't have to draw everything. It's right there on the set, but they still just move the camera around to focus on the important stuff. They don't show you everything. Like we've talked about this before because I bring this up all the time. Like in Dragnet, which is my favorite stupid show on TV, when they get a call to go on a case, you see them get up from their desk, put on their coats, walk out of the building, walk down the steps to their car, get in the car, drive to the crime scene, stop the car, get out of the car. It's like to me that's so overly detailed. That's what comics should avoid. It's like we don't need to see all that because it doesn't add to the story. And so
I like it more like Barney Miller, where literally there's one scene.
It's
all done in the little police room and whatnot.
Right. It's all set up like a one-act play.
Yep.
And comics can't do that because it's too static.
Yeah.
Right. I get
Three's
that.
Company's the same way, right? Remember?
Yeah. Everything's the one set. And I Love Lucy too, except when they go to the club. But I think because comics, you want to move, you want characters to move, and I think I would love to see Jack Kirby draw an episode of Barney Miller, because I don't think it would be the most powerful episode of Barney Miller,
right? Yeah.
Where characters would just burst through the door,
right? Wild,
right? Yeah, people fly in through the broken window. It'd be insane.
And I mentioned Barney Miller. I grew up watching Barney Miller. Barney Miller is one of the shows I go back to watching while I'm working because it's solid. You know what I mean? And then when you watch it, you're like I said, to bring it back to like the subject and whatnot, it's in one room, one squad room. You know what I mean? Everything else that happens is everything else that they're going out to do. It's all relayed as if it's through a phone call
or talking about what they did.
But it doesn't. It never feels like exposition. It never feels like exposition, even though it clearly
they get a phone call and said, "Hey, there's some hookers causing a fight," and then all of a sudden they're bringing the hookers in from when they got them.
Yeah, and then they put them in the cage, so they
put them in the cage. Exactly.
It's
a good show.
All right. Well, gentlemen, we seem to have exhausted our set time.
Yeah, we're talking about hookers thrown in cages.
Speaking of cops and hookers, it's time to go. My thanks to everybody. Too bad the chat was quiet tonight, but we'll be back next week. Maybe Roland can encourage more people to participate.
Yeah.
Jose, thanks for running the board tonight.
Definitely,
Thanks. Welcome back on the cruise, Mike. Everybody who is a fan of Mike, and even those who are not fan of Mike's, go and grab a copy of the Millerton Gazette, sign up for it, and take a look at what he's done with his character and with Matt Wagner's Grendel. I think that you will be surprised, and you will you will find enjoyment.
Right.
Did you set some scenes in there, Mike, when you drew it?
Huh? What'd you say?
You set some scenes when you drew it?
I had some, yeah, I had to.
Right,
I knew
good.
exactly where I was going. Well, you know, it starts out in a bookstore and ends up in a dilapidated building. So yeah, you have to gauge yourself.
Absolutely.
Mike has done his job. All right, on Tuesday, the Tuesday crew will be talking about something. Jose, is that you?
That is me, and you're gonna ask me that question, and I don't know.
Good, because I also don't know what the Wednesday
Is
people are
it
talking
trivia?
about.
I think it might be trivia for us.
Well, I
Maybe
know
that's
Wednesday
next
is not trivia.
No, I think Tuesday might be trivia for us.
All right. I know that Wednesday is something else, not
Another
trivia.
show on Wednesday.
Another show on Wednesday for those people who tune in.
Right.
I don't know what they're talking about because I don't read the memos.
I don't read.
I don't read.
I don't know.
I'm a visual,
Well, you know,
I'm
I
a
know.
visual learner. I don't learn from words. So my thanks to everybody, Mike, Tommy, Jose. Roland will be back next week, and he'll take command of the show again. And until then, what do we say?
Make mine
Silverline.
Silverline.
So long, everyone.
Hey everyone, this is Jose Marzan Jr., inker for Marvel and DC, and make mine Silverline.